Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Sounds about right. Start with the introduction prayer, page 1. Om Jana Termanandasya Jana Jana Salakya Shakshru Militam Yena Tasme Sugurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sabhitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadati Swapadatikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Guran Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupa Sagrejatam Sahagana Raghunath Ativitam Tasajivam Savetam Sadhutam Prajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Saha Gana Lalita Shri Vishnatamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Vada Kanta Namasute Papa Kanchana Garangi Radhe Vrindavan Vasware Vispanu Sute Deve Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kapatarupayascha Kripa Sindhu Vaya Evascha Patita Nampana Vayo Vaishnavayo Nomo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Bhakti-Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Like we're chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, starting at verse 27. Gornitai Ki Jai. Sarvanindraya karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyama yoganayo jukvati yana dipita. Translation. Those who are interested in self-realization in terms of mind and sense control offer the functions of all the senses as well as a vital force, breath, as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. Text 28. Dravya yagyas tapo yagna yoga yagyas tathapare Swadhyaya yagya yagnascha yataya samsita varata. Translation. There are others who, enlightened by sacrificing their material possessions and severe austerities, take strict vows and practice the yoga of eightfold mysticism, and others study the Vedas for the advancement of transcendental knowledge. Text 29. Apani juvati pranam prane pranam tatha pare pranapana gati rudva pranayama uparayana apare niyataraya prayana praneshu juvati. Translation. And there are even others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance. And they practice stopping the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming, and incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Some of them, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. Text 30. Sarvepe hitte yagya vido yagya shitpata kamlasha yagya shitmata vyubugo yanti brahma sanatam. Translation. All these performances who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reaction and have tasted the nectar of the remnants of such sacrifice. They go to the supreme eternal atmosphere. Text 31. Nayam loko sata ayat yatsya yuto naya kuru satmam. Translation. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice one can never live happily on this planet or in this life, and what then of the next? Text 32. Evam baho veda yagya vitata pramano mukhe karmajan viditan sarvan evam gyatva vimotyashyase. Translation. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Text 33. Shreyam drava yamaya yagyaj yanya yagya pranatapa sarvam karma kahililam parta yane parishame payate. Translation. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice of knowledge is greater than the sacrifice of material possessions. O son of Pritha, after all, the sacrifice of work accumulates in transcendental knowledge. Text 34. Tavidi pranapatina praryapishina sevaya upadikshanti te gayan ganyasya tapa tardishnya. Translation. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Text 35. Yagyadvatna Purnamaham Evam Yasyashi Pandava Yena Bhutane Eshane Drakshashe Atmane Ato Maye. And when you have thus learned the truth, you will know that all living beings are but part of me, and they are in me and are mine. Text 36. Apicharasi papibaya savibaya papa krita maha sarvyam jnana pavam naiva vijan satarishyasi. Translation. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you'll be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. Text 37. Yataradma samadugnir bashmatsat kurati arjuna yanadgina sarva karmani bashmasat kurute tata. Translation. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reaction of material activities. Final text, text 38. Nahi jnanam sardasam pravitram iha vidyate tat sayam yoga samisita kalinatmani vindate. Translation. In this world there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has achieved this enjoys itself within himself in due course of time. Turning to text 27, translation. Those who are interested in self-realization in terms of mind and sense control offer the functions of all the senses, as well as the vital force breath, as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. Report by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Yoga system conceived by Patanjali is referred to herein. In the Yoga Sutra, Patanjali, the soul is called Pratyad Atma, or Praraj Atma. As long as the soul is attached to sense enjoyment, it is called Praraj Atma. The soul is subjected to the functions of 10 kinds of air at work within the body, and this is perceived through the breathing system. The Patanjala system of yoga instructs one on how to control the functions of the body's air in the technical manner so that ultimately all the functions of the air within become favorable for purifying the soul of material attachment. According to this yoga system, Pratyag Atma is the ultimate goal. This Pratyag Atma is a withdrawal from activities and matter. The senses interact with the sense objects like the ear for hearing, eyes for seeing, nose for smelling, tongue for tasting, hand for touching, and all of them are thus engaged in activities outside the self. They are called the functions of the prana vayu. The apana vayu goes downwards. Vijnana vayu acts to shrink and expand. Samana vayu adjusts equilibrium. Udana vayu goes upwards. And when one is enlightened, one engages all these in searching for self-realization. Move on to text 28. Translation: There are those who are enlightened by sacrificing the material possessions and severe austerities, take strict vows and practice a yoga of eightfold mysticism, and others study the Vedas for the advancement of transcendental knowledge. Purport: These sacrifices may be fitted into various divisions. There are persons who are sacrificing their possessions in the form of various kinds of charities. In India, the rich mercantile community or princely orders open various kinds of charitable institutions, like Dhammasala, Anasetra, Aditi Sala, Anatalaya, Idyapita, etc. In other countries, too, there are many hospitals, old age homes, and similar charitable foundations meant for distributing food, education, and medical treatment free to the poor. All these charitable activities are called Trayamaya Yagya. There are others who, for higher elevation in life or for promotion to higher planets within the universe, voluntarily accept many kinds of austerity, such as Chandraya and Chaturmasya. These processes entail severe vows for conducting life under certain rigid rules. For example, under the Chaturmasya vow, the candidate does not shave for 4 months during the year, July to October. He does not eat certain foods, does not eat twice in a day, and does not leave home. Such sacrifice of the comforts of life is called Tapomaya Yagya. There are still others who engage themselves in different kinds of mystic yogas, like the Patanjali system, for merging into the existence of the Absolute, or the Hatha Yoga or Asana Yoga for particular perfections. And some travel to all the sanctified places of pilgrimage. All these practices are called Yoga Yagya, sacrifice of a certain type of perfection in the material world. There are others who engage themselves in the studies of the different Vedic literatures, specifically the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutras, or the Sakya philosophy. All of these are called Swadhyayana Yagya, or engagement in the sacrifices of studies. All these yogis are faithfully engaged in different types of sacrifice and are seeking a higher status of life. Krishna consciousness is, however, different from these because it is direct service of the Supreme Lord. Krishna consciousness cannot be attained by any one of the above-mentioned types of sacrifices. It can only be attained by the mercy of the Lord and his bona fide devotee. Therefore, Krishna consciousness is transcendental. So, Krishna consciousness is superior to all these other forms of sacrifices. And Krishna consciousness can only be achieved through a bona fide spiritual master, bona fide devotee. Krishna, this is how the system works. You can't just, stumble through life and say, okay, I'm Krishna conscious, without having ever met a devotee. It doesn't work that way. If a devotee's got a bona fide devotee, a spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master has got to empower the devotees. It's basically like a flame being handed on from candle to candle to candle. It's the same flame, but it's being handed on, lighting the next candle, lighting the next candle, and the next candle, and the next candle. Without this connection, cannot be linked into Krishna consciousness, unless you get some sort of very, very special grace from Krishna himself. But generally, it's understood that you need the guidance of spiritual master. You need to have a bona fide spiritual master, be an association of a pure devotee. Move on to the next text. And there are even others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance. They practice stopping the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming, and incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Some of them, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. Purport. This system of yoga for controlling the breathing process is called pranayama, and the beginning it is practiced in the Hatha Yoga system through different sitting postures. All these processes are recommended for controlling the senses and for advancement in spiritual realization. This practice involves controlling the air within the body to enable simultaneous passage in opposite directions. The apana air goes upward and the prana air goes up. The pranayama yogi practice breathing the opposite way until the currents are neutralized into puraka, equilibrium. Similarly, when the exhaled breath is offered to inhaled breathing, it is called richaka. When both air currents are completely stopped, it is called kumbhaka yoga. By practice of kumbhaka yoga, yogis increase the duration of life by many, many years. The Krishna conscious person, however, being always situated in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, automatically becomes controller of the senses. His senses being engaged in the service of Krishna have no chance of becoming otherwise engaged. So at the end of life, he is naturally transferred to the transcendental plane of Lord Krishna. Consequently, he makes no attempt to increase his longevity. He is at once raised to the platform of liberation. A Krishna conscious person begins from the transcendental stage, and he is constantly in that consciousness. Therefore, there is no falling down, and ultimately he enters into the abode of the Lord without delay. The practice of reduced eating is automatically done when one eats only Krishna prasadam, or food which is offered first to the Lord. Reducing the eating process is very helpful in the matter of sense control. Without sense control, there is no possibility of getting out of material entanglement. So here again we have senses always engaged in Krishna consciousness have no chance of becoming otherwise engaged. So at the end of life, he is naturally transferred to the transcendental plane of Lord Krishna. And this is something that I've talked about many times before, is Krishna consciousness, bhakti yoga. This is preparing us for the time of death. This is preparing us for when we meet death. From the time that we are conceived, there's one sure thing: death is coming. There's just no way around it. And from the time we die, there's one sure thing: rebirth is coming. The whole process is, when we die, we're wanting to remember Krishna. We're not wanting to remember mundane things. We're not wanting to desire, worldly things. If we're desiring worldly things, Krishna is so merciful. He gives us exactly what we want. He'll give us a body to enjoy the material things that we're desiring. That's his mercy. He's not here to stop us. He's not here to prevent us from, enjoying our material activities. There's suffering involved when we take this path. It's, if I'm on my deathbed, I'm thinking, man, it'd be nice just to be, to see my grandkids live, my great grandkids or whatever, thinking about family at the time of death. Well, you could take a body where you're able to enjoy your family later on. If you're thinking about mundane things like, alcoholics might be thinking about alcohol at the time of death. Maybe they want a beer or another last shot of whiskey before they pass. Or they're going to get a body that they can enjoy that with. They just won't be there with Krishna. These are the things that many things that can run through the mind when one is facing death, when one's facing their last moments of life. It's I spent a little time with working with the elderly when I was up in Alaska, and some of these, it was an assisted living center that I was working at, and it was basically a place where people went to just to wait to die. It was their retirement. They can no longer support, take care of themselves, and their family members can no longer take care of them. So they moved into an assisted living center that had staff and facilities there, and basically a lot of these people were just waiting to die. They had their daily activities, their daily meals, but it was a waiting game. And there were some that I worked with that they were just so fed up. It's like, why can't I just die? They just had it, they were just sick of life. They were sick of the pain. They were sick of everything. They were just waiting to die. So there's many things that can run through our minds at the time of death. And, Bhakti Yoga is the thing that's helping us, transform our mind to be put on Krishna at all times. Death can come at any time, Any time. It could be 5 minutes from now. It could be 10 years from now. It could be 30 years from now. You just never know. And that's always a chance you take when you take your mind off Krishna, when you are doing something that's not Krishna conscious, when you're not focusing in on your service to Krishna, not focusing on your sadhana. You just might be caught up in that one instant where, death came for you, and you're thinking about something else, maybe a beautiful woman. You just came back to life as a woman. Or you're thinking about a cat at the time, and you came back to life as a cat. Very, very tricky at the time of death. That's why it's very important to get our sadhanas down, to keep our chanting our rounds, following the Guru's instructions, studying the Bhagavad Gita, studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, listening to kirtan, have that revolving around in our head. When we find ourselves falling asleep at night, do you hear kirtan in the back of your head? That's always a good sign. So it just makes, the whole process of when we come to meet death, if everything's naturally revolving around in your head already, from kirtan to the Maha Mantra to maybe a lecture of Prabhupada, if these things are naturally coming up and when we're finding our time of, silence, a time of quietness, when we're trying to fall asleep or just having a little bit of quiet time to ourselves, these things are naturally coming up. That's one step, closer to the time of death. How do we just concentrate the mind on Krishna? By practice. Practice. It takes lots and lots of practice. It's just like, the beginning, it's compared to, like a bitter pill, to swallow. Because, it's the mind wants to reject meditation naturally to begin with. Mind likes to be in control. The mind likes to, wander and be in control and go after sense gratification. So it just takes a long time of practice. what one is called like acquired taste. Some people may have heard that term, acquired taste. You may grow up, having to eat a certain food that you didn't like growing up. By the time you were an adult, all of a sudden you realize you really like that food. That's much more like the acquired taste of Krishna consciousness. At first, it tastes bitter. Trying to keep your mind on Krishna at all times, trying to keep your mind on service, trying to keep your mind focused, because your mind is wild. It wants to wander. It wants to latch on to all these sense gratifications. And this takes practice, gradual learning and practice of concentrating on Krishna, reading the Bhagavad Gita every day, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam every day, listening to lectures, listening to kirtan, doing your rounds every day. It takes continual practice. But over time, it becomes easier and easier. But in the beginning, it's a very hard, bitter pill to swallow. If it was real easy, boy, this temple would be packed. If it was, the easiest thing in the world, Krishna consciousness would probably be, 8 billion in the movement by now if it was the easiest process. But everybody wants to sense enjoyment. That's why we have so many people that are, not attracted to God, not attracted to Krishna. They're attracted to the sense enjoyment. They're wanting to enjoy the fruits of their activities. But Krishna says that he alone is the one who enjoys the results. We're not entitled to the results of our activities. Krishna is entitled to it. He knows exactly what's going to happen, what you're going to decide 5 minutes from now, an hour from now, 20 years from now. He knows exactly what you're going to do. Yes, Prabhu. How do we reclaim this? How do we take? Explain a little bit more what you mean by that. You got a microphone?
So, let's say we've lost our service for the time being, but we want it back, and we want it back very badly. But there's something blocking us. How do we reclaim it and keep our integrity and still keep our jolliness?
So well, there's no diminution. So whatever service you have done before, you never lose. So say you fell back on service, say you fell back in your sadhana, you have to jump back on the bandwagon. Sometimes that's difficult. Especially if there's like a period of time that you go through that, you were out of service for so long, you were out of, bhakti yoga for so long. That just takes determination a lot of times. And ultimately, everything comes down to Krishna's grace, the Guru's grace. We can't do any of this without the Krishna's grace. We are, the more that we become, we realize that we are powerless and Krishna is in full control. The more that we are finding the easier it is to surrender. Because ultimately, we're not in control. We want to be the ones in control, but we're not. Krishna's in control. And so a lot of it comes down to is where our desires. This is that one special area that we have a little bit of control over. is our desires, is what we choose to desire. So there's, some people who have some strong desires. I mean, there's unlimited amount of desires out there. Some people, enjoy, alcohol and drugs. Other people enjoy skydiving and bungee jumping, It's unlimited amount of desires out there. But it's when we make that choice that I want to desire Krishna more than skydiving and bungee jumping. Or I want to desire Krishna more than drugs and alcohol. I want to desire Krishna more than, dating hot women. It's making that choice, then begging for that grace, for your desire for Krishna to be strengthened. You have to ask Krishna over and over, increase my desire for you. Please help. Give me the desire that Lord Chaitanya had for you. Give me the desire that the great Goswamis had for you. Help increase my desire that way. Because it's only through increasing our desire that we have any chance of progressing. Like I said, Krishna's in full control. He already knows, what you're going to do in the next 5 minutes. He already knows the choices that you're going to make. He knows if you're going, to, succeed in, keeping your vows or fail in keeping your vows. He already knows. But it's that surrender, that understanding that Krishna's in control. And it's His grace, and only by His grace, that we can progress. We're not in control. We want to be in control. That's why we're here in this material world, because we said we want to be in control. We want control over everything. We want control over my life. I want control over this. I want control over that. I want control over my material senses. That's why we're here in the material world. This is our prison. This is our prison house. We get nicer, cell views now and then, doing pious activities, doing charitable events. Sometimes we get a better view. But the prison is our senses, trying to enjoy our senses, having control over everything. That's our prison. We get released from this prison when we surrender our senses to Krishna. When we want to enjoy Krishna only. That comes down to the desire. And like I said, desire is just not something you can turn on and off. That's where it says, say you got to beg, Krishna for this desire. It takes practice, but it takes a lot of begging. A lot of Krishna's mercy. That's the way that we advance in this. It's not something we can do under our own power. If we can do it under our own power, boy, there'd be 1,000,001 pure devotees out there right now. But no, it's very special grace. It's very special mercy. And you gotta go to Krishna each and every day. Go before Gaurnitai each and every day and ask for that mercy. Please help increase my desire for you. I only want to desire you. Pray this each and every day. Pray to your guru every day. For you to increase your desire for Krishna. This is how we advance. Any other questions on that? That answer your question, Prabhu? Where was I? Text 30. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reaction and have tasted the nectar of the remnants of such sacrifice. They go to the supreme eternal atmosphere. Report. From the foregoing explanation of different types of sacrifices, namely the sacrifices of one possessions, study of the Vedas, or philosophical doctrines and performances of the yoga systems, it is found that common aim of all is to control the senses. Sense gratification is the root cause of material existence. Therefore, unless and until one is situated on a platform apart from sense gratification, there is no chance of being elevated to the eternal platform of full knowledge, full bliss, and full life. This platform is in the eternal atmosphere, or Brahman atmosphere. All the above-mentioned sacrifices help one to become cleansed of the sinful reactions of material existence. By this advancement in life, one not only becomes happy and opulent in this life, but also, at the end, he enters into the eternal kingdom of God, either merging into the impersonal Brahman or associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So here again, sense gratification is the root cause of material existence. Therefore, unless and until one is situated on a platform apart from sense gratification, there is no chance of being elevated to the eternal platform of full knowledge and full bliss and full life. So that's reflecting again the sense gratification and where our desires lie, because let's face it, our desires generally revolve around sense gratification. I'm trying to think of examples of when it's not revolved around sense gratification, Can you think of something that you desire that doesn't involve sense gratification? It's kind of hard to come up with something. Yeah, so it's the sense gratification and desires go hand in hand, and that's where, as I was saying, that we're trying to develop our desires for Krishna only. For Krishna, desire Him only. Anything else that's binding us to this material world. That's where, as I said, we got to ask for that. We got to ask for that special grace from Krishna. We got to beg from Him each and every day. Increase our desire for Him. Text 31. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? Yes.
We must simply, without any dilution, seek Krishna's mercy and grace.
I can't hear you. Could you?
Yeah, generally you just mentioned the fact that without being diluted, we should simply seek for Krishna's grace. But the point is, at the present state of consciousness, what we have, we do Krishna conscious activities, but there's also some kind of fructive mentality or what is associated with it. So if we keep continuing the process, let's say we keep chanting the holy names, would it eventually be a time that we get purified and our vision and consciousness becomes much more purer? Like, would just chanting itself be sufficient to cleanse the heart, to remove the contaminations, whatever is there in terms of desire or
through
whatever
practice, through chanting the holy names and through practicing bhakti yoga. But this is all part of the process. You're still, at the same time, you're still asking. I mean, listen to the prayers of the acharyas, how they're approaching, with their prayers. They're continually asking to increase their desire for Krishna. And that's how we got to learn how to pray. Yeah, the mood of prayer, because they're begging Krishna, increase our desire. That's how we got to come to this realization that, like I said, we can't do this by ourselves. We can't do this on our own through our own willpower. It's through the grace of Krishna, through his mercy. And through his mercy, by asking him over and over, please increase my desire for you. I want to desire you more than anything else in this world. And that's how we increase in our devotion. So, the whole process of Bhakti Yoga has helped to get us closer to that platform to help us increase our desire for him. But without the process of Bhakti Yoga, you're not going to be able to increase your desire for him.
So, thank you, Prabhuji. So, it's about maintaining the prayerful attitude. It's about maintaining the prayerful attitude.
Yes.
Again, and again, and again.
Yes. I always like to say that, we are naturally beggars. We should always be begging, begging Krishna. Begging our spiritual master, oh, can I have some mercy? Because, the Maha Mantra, we're begging with Maha Mantra, over and over and over again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Over and over again, please increase my service over and over again. The more that we can, humble ourselves and realize that, hey, ultimately, we're servants, we're beggars, we're begging for everything. Because we're powerless without Krishna. We've tried to do our own thing. We've tried to become our own gods. We've tried to do things our own way, but ultimately we're still not doing things our own way. Krishna's still in full control. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu.
I was wondering if you have any advice on how we can increase our patience.
I have to really answer this question. No. No. Increase our patience. Just takes time. Takes time. I mean, just takes time and just practice, Prabhu. I don't know what to tell you. Just beg, it's another thing, beg Krishna for it and increase your patience. Because I still get very impatient all the time. Especially when I'm cooking. And I get so impatient sometimes when I'm cooking, it's just like, oh, why can't this milk boil faster? I need to reduce down. It's taken 3 hours to reduce down to make this burfi. But no, it just takes time. It's patient. The lack of patience is, once again, many a times us wanting to enjoy our material senses somewhere else than what we're doing at the time. I'll move on to, where was I? I was left off at 32. Okay. Translation. All these different types of sacrifices are proved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Report. Different types of sacrifices discussed above are mentioned in the Vedas to suit the different types of worker, because men are so deeply absorbed in the bodily concept. These sacrifices are so arranged that one can work either with the body, the mind, or the intelligence. But all of them are recommended for ultimately bringing about liberation from the body. This is confirmed by the Lord herein from his own mouth. All these things are meant for purifying, meant for getting us down to zero karma, because we don't want good karma, we don't want bad karma, we want no karma. And karma is just the result of actions that we have taken in life, in past lives and previous lives. So it's basically an ongoing record, like, you owe this. You know, good karma, oh, well, the universe owes you this, to be repaid. Bad karma, well, you owe the universe so much, suffering, in return. But we're trying to get down to zero karma, no karma, through devotional service, through all these sacrifices that we're making. Bhakti yoga is the ultimate. It clears out our karma altogether. That's our time for today. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.